riches and wisdom. So we have, even right there...
What's his name?
This is an emergency transmission from FEMA Region 6 in occupied North America.
There is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the info war.
So they've now got Mitch McConnell and others copying Charlton Heston, raising guns over their heads at the big Republican CPAC meeting, saying, "For my cold, dead hand." Ted Cruz comes out and says, "Abolish the IRS." There's others giving speeches about indicting Holder and indicting the IRS heads and others. This is the type of talk that could lead to real action. And this is the way we could actually turn this country around. I mean, it can happen, folks. We're in the throes of deep corruption. And if the libertarian movement, the constitutional common sense Americana movement, the classical liberal movement, notice I had Stefan Molyneux in here yesterday. He was calling us classical liberals. He's an anarchic capitalist. Why is he calling himself a classical liberal? Because that's what Thomas Jefferson was, folks. And Thomas Jefferson would look at the Democratic Party and the Republican leadership and would literally declare them the enemy. If you go off real liberal versus conservative systems, conservative back in Thomas Jefferson's time meant you have elites that are above the law, don't pay taxes, and get their power from royalty. And a bunch of groups are protected classes and everybody else is a slave. Thomas Jefferson said, you know, that's a really bad idea. People say, well, he had slaves. Yeah, and he started the movement to get rid of it. Also had about 20 children with him. But the point is that it was the ideas that led to more liberty later. They were the trailblazers. It's easy 250 years later to point back and go, well, I mean, these people were absolutely terrible. But they were trailblazing in their age, and their ideas led to greater forms of liberty today. And more, it is about the definitions. We've got to get the proper definitions out there for people if we have any hope of ever changing things. By the way, a bunch of establishment, authoritarian promoting publications with White House connections like Media Matters and Al Gore's Al Jazeera Network and all the rest of them came out and went into complete conniption fits since last Friday when Tucker Carlson was on. They're still going today and yesterday. MSNBC, more reports. Young Turks, more reports. I mean, every day this week from what I've seen, people are sending me the clips. I don't have time to watch them all. I watch two. They are freaking out over the fact that I have pointed out something that's totally public. And that is the fact that the Democratic Party was the party of the Ku Klux Klan. The Republicans got the Civil Rights Act passed. And so the Democrats by the mid-'60s said, we're going to lose everything if we don't branch out and double down and claim we're the party of minorities and give them a bunch of freebies. And Sink, or Cirque, he's an interesting talk show host. I'm not messing up his name on purpose. Chink, I got it right. There you go. He did these diatribes explaining, now, Alex, it's true the Democrats were the party of the Klan up into the 60s, but the Republicans had the Southern strategy, and so they were the ones that were racist, and they flipped with the Democrats. Well, I said that in my rant. I said partially that was true because they were getting beat so bad. They said, fine, they've already got all the minorities that we actually were trying to free. We better go with the Southern strategy. That was Nixon. That was Nixon in the late 1960s, and it was purely political. The point is it doesn't take away the LBJ quotes that are, if we let these, N-words continue to be with the Republicans, it's over for our party. But I'm going to get all this great society passed, and we'll have the N-words voting Democrat for 200 years. And those are quotes on record.
The globalists have controlled the mainstream media for a long time, but now they're expanding, making the weaponization even more vicious and deceptive. All the major networks are state-run.
We are partnering this year with the NFL.
The NFL has become a political weapon against the Second Amendment and pushes Obamacare. MSNBC tells us that our children belong to the state.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
The brainwashing media machine has been turned up on high, and it's time for humanity to double down on the true people's media and strike back against the tyrants that are destroying our civilization with their lies and fraud. We are the resistance. You are the resistance. You are the info war. It is more important than ever to realize that we are not the alternative media. We are the true media. The establishment dinosaur press is dying.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Join us at InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Members can share their memberships with up to 11 people. By subscribing, you will literally be buying war bonds in the info war to expand our operation in the face of the tyrants. Join us at PrisonPlanet.tv.
David Knight will be hosting the Sunday show this Sunday, but I will be Skyping in for at least 30 minutes of the transmission, and we're going to be premiering some investigative reports on that broadcast as well. Anthony Gucciardi will also be in on the Sunday transmission. Just throwing that out before I forget. Tomorrow, before I get into what's coming up today, and there's a lot, we're going to premiere here last Friday's 35-minute plus sit-down interview with Tucker Carlson before he came live. And it was very unscripted by him and is going to be controversial. If you think the last Friday's interview that ended up being all over MSNBC, Young Turks, every Democratic Party publication basically flipping out over it, if you think that that was a interesting interview, wait till you see this one. If you're a TV viewer, radio listeners will hear it, premiering in the second hour tomorrow. It'll fill up because we've added a lot of documentation and video and audio clips to what I'm debating with Tucker Carlson to the 35-minute interview. So it's probably 45 minutes long. It will fill all the airtime of the second hour tomorrow. Again, I don't really take full spring breaks where I take off 5-6 days with the family, but I take little pieces off. So I won't be live tomorrow myself. David Knight will be in. But you will have several reports I've been working on. The Tucker Carlson interview, John Bound's investigative report on the Democratic Party and their ties to race baiting and the Ku Klux Klan. That's going to be premiering at 11:30, 30 minutes into the transmission tomorrow. I never saw it until now. I'm going to get the filmmaker on. It's called Runaway Slave that came out in 2012. We're going to play a trailer of that coming up. There's a black guy who actually knows all about this and made a film about it, exposing it. My only issue is I realize more and more just how conscious the modern Democrats are and that they know all this, and that when we mention it, they run around like chickens with their heads cut off. Because the only way to defeat their racial division and race baiting and the race wars they're trying to start is to absolutely expose them. And they're scared of this. And quite frankly, the Republican leadership, with Nixon and the Southern strategy starting in '68 on, they don't want this out. The Republican blue bloods don't want this out either, because they just flipped sides with the Democrats, and it was all basically a behind-the-scenes deal. So that doesn't get the Republicans off the hook either. It's just these are the big secrets they don't want you to know. And that's what we do. We take the big hiding in the elephant, hiding in the living room elephant that's sitting there, the conjoined donkey and the elephant, and basically show what a monstrosity it is. We're here to show you the hat tricks. In fact, they actually got the promo for Runaway Slave, the film. We don't sell it. We should. I've seen it. It's excellent. In the shopping cart, InfoWarsStore.com. But here's a plug for that documentary that dovetails, here's the trailer, with the research we're doing and preparing to put out. We also sell the film MAFA, dealing with the eugenics program and the Democratic Party and Margaret Sanger and what they've been doing since the 20s. So we have been exposing this for a long time. It's just that it really scares the system. So we're going to play that trailer in a moment. And then the big news obviously, is Crimea Parliament votes to join Russia. That is a big deal. And you've got talk of sanctions, talk of not letting Russians fly here with their visas, and vice versa. This is a new Cold War beginning. Absolutely no doubt about it. That story is up on drudgereport.com. Also up on drudgereport.com, 4-story down in the middle column, an Infowars.com story. Missouri teachers object to being shot during drills. Missouri students and teachers required by law to participate in active shooter drills. And I'm going to explain exactly what's behind this coming up after we get into the Crimea situation. But because MSNBC, twice this week that I know of, and because the Young Turks, 3 times that I know of, and because all the big Democratic Party websites all week long, following the talking points of Media Matters, have been running around freaking out, making fun of us for pointing out the absolute historical fact that Eisenhower got the Voting Rights Act moving forward, the Civil Rights Act passed with Republicans, and it hurt the Democrats so bad that they then came back later and supported it. That brought in the Great Society. We have all the racist letters of LBJ and all the rest, and we're just going to put it into a bunch of special reports, especially now that they're running around claiming that we're deceiving people. And going, hey, the Southern strategy, you know, the Republicans said they were going to target the South after the Democrats began to lose the South because they went for the whole country with racial politics. They just shifted from their racial politics in the South to then flipping it to the rest of the country, racial identity politics with the minorities. The Republicans were actually trying to fuse the country into a nationalistic, free market empire at the time. I'm not even saying it was perfect, but it was a lot better goal than the globalists have today. And they were actually trying to unify the nation post-World War II. The Democrats were not about to let that happen, came out with a very cynical, sophisticated, Machiavellian program. And so when Shink, if I'm pronouncing it right, and others on the Young Turks and MSNBC get up there and go, Alex, you know full well the Democrats flip from being the racist party to the Republican Party. That's not really true. And you know the Southern strategy under Nixon came many years later. So they are really scared of this. And again, I've discovered whatever we report on that they freak out about, you know, when they freak out and go, it's ridiculous that we want to ban your guns. Everybody knows we don't want to ban your guns. Now, please stop playing the clips where we say we're going to ban them. That's because it's hurting them. And I'm going to go on hurting you because you're a bunch of tyrants. And when I mention the fact that they are the party of race politics and identity politics and class warfare, they get very upset, folks, because they're out in the open race baiting. If you flipped the people on MSNBC into Klan uniforms from 50 years ago, I mean, it's the same rhetoric, folks, but for minorities. It is. That's what it is. Word for word. They flipped the script, and I'm not going to put up with it. So here is a trailer for the film that exposes this. Runaway Slave. Here it is.
Pre-1960, most African Americans were Republicans. After Martin Luther King was freed from jail by John F. Kennedy, the African American vote has gone Democratic. What exactly did we get exchanged for our 95% Democratic swaying vote? We gave up 3-to-1 odds in abortion.
14 million black babies have died since 1973.
Dependent on welfare systems.
They begin to take young women, and they begin to tell the young women, well, we will give you money, you just stay home. But what if I want to get married? You lose your benefits.
When you remove the black man out of the house, the likelihood of the young black men going to jail increases by 60%. This is what this party has given on a platter to African Americans. Sometimes you can't tell the difference between now and 200 years ago. And we, by 95%, support this.
Going back to the plantation. You have a group of people on the plantation, and we've run away. We ran away. We got free.
The more the government gives us, the more debt and more control we accumulate.
But here we come back to the plantation, and we're telling them, y'all can be free.
Anyone that comes along and talks to me about taking away what I've given you, they must be evil. They got to be Republicans.
You have 40, 50 years, an entire culture of people. This is all they know. They don't know anything else.
Because, see, in the black community, there's always somebody's got to keep them niggas in control.
You could call it slavery in the slave quarters or now in the urban ghettos of America.
I think life is about our future and making decisions that you feel like will serve you best.
We have an opportunity in this nation as blacks that we could not find anywhere else.
We the people are still in charge of this country.
We joined up with these people who are haters and they're racist, but they're not. All we're doing is telling the others that are still on the plantation, you can be free.
This is not the land of guarantees, but it's the land of opportunity.
The sky's the limit as to what we can achieve here.
But when you say racism is the problem, you put the power for your future in someone else's hands.
What we need in this country today is more black men to confront it. Because you as a white man, you can't confront it. Right now, if you said anything to the black community, you're going to be accused of racism.
I guess I'm racist too, right?
Tyranny is colorblind. White or black, it will control you. Run, America. Run faster. Don't give up. Don't give in. Are you tired yet? Run harder.
Again, the film's Runaway Slave. We're going to carry it, and we're going to get all those guys on the show. The point is that I've been covering this for 18, 19 years, but just kind of mentioning as a footnote, reading so much history, and I realized right in front of us, worldwide, governments want to get people on welfare. And if a country's half Catholic, half Protestant, they'll play those groups off against each other. Or if it's half animist in Africa and in some region and half Christian, they'll play those groups off against each other, even though it's black people, again, or white people against white people. They will divide and conquer, just like Ukraine. Catholics against Orthodox. Slavs against Aryans, as they call themselves in Western Ukraine. And this is what they do. This is how they operate. And then you look at the social engineering of the eugenicists and the family courts that were set up. And if you look at how they were set up in England 120 years ago, set up here about 110 years ago, and places like New York City with the Rockefeller Foundation on record, and go look at who set them up. And it gets rid of the courts. Used to you want to do a court to decide who got the kids, or you want to do a court to decide what was going to happen. No, now it's just a judge. And now it's a system where the health department decides and the CPS decides. And, oh, we don't want fathers in the home. We want only women, and then the state is their husband, and we pay those women only enough to control them. And then we wonder why the statistic they were showing in that film is a 60% increase in prison. It's a several 100% increase in prison, and a 80% increase in illegitimacy, and a culture totally destroyed, and people who literally have no idea even what country they're in. And that's because the blacks were targeted as the test case, as Tony Brown has pointed out many times. The exact same formula is being done in every other community. I mean, the general public, people that are raised by single parents on average, I'm not attacking single parents. They always act like if you point out the statistics that you're 4 times more likely to be on drugs, 5 times more likely to end up in prison. The number used to be 3 times, now 5 times. That you're going to have a life of poverty. Even if you come from a middle class or wealthy home and it's single parent, your kids statistically are totally screwed. Because they're biologically designed to be around a man and a woman and that interaction. It ends the human cycle. It ends the family. And the family's almost gone. The West is completely dying. And they're going into the third world and teaching people to get rid of their families. They're going into Africa and Asia and Latin America with microloans. And they advertise them like they're a great deal. In most cases, they're not. Where they will give women maybe a $50 loan. And then have the women on TV and radio what stars they are. And then the few success cases, they're like payday loans. The women never even get out of debt. But then they tell the women, that's all right, we'll forgive your debt. Just divorce your husband, kick him out of the house, and put your kids in a government-run dormitory where the state raises them, and you'll get them on the weekend. And hey, honey, You can go after you work in the factory till 8 o'clock at night with your lady friends and have a drink. You can go out and have a little bit of fun. And see, breaking up the family, telling men, hey, you'll see your kids every other week. Go out and have a good time. Have your mama baby at home. Go knock up a bunch of women. And you can just drive around in your nice car and have a couple jobs and have a little bit of bling bling and be a big star. Yeah, it's fun for the individual to not be home with their kids sometimes. It's fun for the women to give their kids over to the state, leave them at school till 8, 9 at night, put them in programs with the government-run schools on the weekend. It's fun for you, but it ends humanity as we know it. And then long-term, your kids don't come see you in the nursing home. There's no family reunions. People don't even visit their parents because we've been turned black, white, I don't care into animals. 60% of the country's divorced. Men don't know what men are. Women don't know what women are. And it has been done on record by the eugenicists and by IBM and by the Rockefeller Brothers Foundation and Carnegie Endowment on record. Endgame 2.0 that's on prisonplanet.tv. Dr. Kaufman goes through all the government documents on how they were going to end heterosexuality to lower the population. Yeah, you got half the men with other men and half the women with other women. That'll cut it right there. And then you wage war against the family. It's not even a moral judgment against, quote, gay people. It's that it's scientifically being pushed, and no one can deny that, from every angle to break us up where we're total atomized individuals, but not in the classical sense of an individual, part of a family, part of a tribe, part of a group. There are no more tribes. There are no more cultures. There are no more people. There's MTV and CNN and Fox News and ESPN, and you tune in and you watch Friends, the show Friends. You don't actually have friends. You watch the show Friends, to use an example from 15 years ago, and you have no identity. Your identity is whatever the television puts into you. And I am a runaway slave from the psychological warfare, artificial reality, matrix-like level, artificial habitat the globalists are trying to construct and trying to put us into. That's what's going on here. I want everyone to be free. I want everyone to realize how much potential and human power they have. And I want them to realize that their individuality is under attack. The globalists sell a fake, synthetic form of individuality where, oh, you're an individual, you don't have a family, you don't have really any real friends that would ever come to your aid, but you've got a culture, a plastic, fake corporate culture that's put out that you buy into that empowers you. This morning I was working out at the gym and they had an ad. I think it was for Xbox or PlayStation. I meant to write a note. I forgot. But it was something like, you know, dare to be great. Dare to be somebody. It showed a bunch of pirates fighting with each other, but they're blurring reality. They showed real actors fighting as pirates and then cut to the video game of pirates killing each other. You can go out and kill each other and be on the high seas and be in real battles, but never actually be in a real battle. You can go and buy a Ferrari for $1,000 in Second Life or whatever it is and all these other virtual realities, and then people really think you're cool in a fantasy world, but it's not real. That is humans being inserted into the matrix. The globalists said 50 years ago they were going to develop virtual reality games that would become indistinguishable like the holodeck in Star Trek from reality until you would choose the fake, easy reality over the hard, true reality that is actually rewarding. Yeah, I would imagine if you were in a few dozen sea battles with real cutlasses and blunderbuss hacking people up, you'd be pretty tough. But you're not really in sea battles when you go and play those video games. I would imagine if you flew around Vietnam in a helicopter, getting shot at and shooting at people, that would be a life experience because people are really dying. The virtual reality isn't real. And the virtual reality is bigger than all these video games that say, dare greatly, be somebody. I was sitting there during like a 30-second break working out because the way I was starting to work out, there's like no breaks basically. But I stopped and paused, and I'm sitting there looking at it. And it was saying things on the screen like, be somebody, be part of an adventure. Your life starts now. No, your life begins to end in these false realities. And the media says, hey, don't listen to him. This is something that'll make you feel like a human being. Yeah, because they take away our cultures. They take away our normal rites of passage. They take away the feminine and male rites of passages. They destroy our families. We don't know anything better. We're set down in front of a television from birth. And it's our girlfriend. It's our boyfriend. It's our father. It's our mother. It's our ancestor. It's our guru. It's our Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's our guide. No, it's not. It's an artificial construct where the enemy can reach through and openly program you any way they want. Literally, ladies and gentlemen, I could dress up like a trendy, grow a beard, and I'm not knocking you to grow a beard. Hey, it's working for you. And go out on the street and have women throw themselves at me. I could literally do all the fake things that the media says do and have success, but it would be with other plastic, non-real people who will never be fulfilled and empowered and who aren't real. Because it's true. The globalists want to make us unconscious, programmable, biological androids in their own words. If you're not self-actuating and actually guiding your own development and consciously understanding yourself and knowing thyself, you are not conscious. You are not real. You are not even a person. You're not living. No wonder you're so unhappy. No wonder. And you run after the false plastic synthetic construct as if it's going to empower you. I see the young men trying to dress up like Jay-Z and stuff and trying to take on these trappings of success, believing that's going to give them success within the system. It's not. It's all a hologram that you believe you buy into and that you're empowered when you're in a matrix. It's not real. You understand that?
You are watching the best of the Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.